Be adaptable. There are a lot of folks that when they come out, they think they're going to run the company. If they ask you to do some menial task, do that task well. Do it the best that you can do. Understand that it takes time to get the skill to learn the business or the task. And so take your time, be adaptable, build your networks, like I said before, because often it's not what you know, but it's who you know, the people you know, and is what they say when you're not in the room.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7 and 8 figure businesses, as well as a founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where we help startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. You ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we are always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Joanne Rolle. And Joanne started her journey in high school, was interested in economics and business, went off to college, studied a couple majors in management as well as economics, and then I think went off to get a master and PhD in or with regards to economics as well. Afterwards, ran an art gallery, I think, while getting the PhD, and then from there went to work for a big business after the PhD. I think it was for IBM, and eventually her journey evolved into where she's at today. So, with that much as a quick introduction, welcome on the podcast, Joanne.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction, Devin, and thank you for inviting me. It is wonderful to look back and think of the journey and talk of the journey, and hopefully it will help others. I'm just going to turn on my little timers because, academics, and I've been an academic for a while, and, and one thing we could do is talk.
Absolutely. No, I'm excited to have you on. I'm looking forward to a great episode and hearing a little bit more about your journey. So, kind of to dive into things a bit, I kind of give a quick walkthrough of your journey and a little bit of an overview. But why don't we rewind a bit and tell us a little bit about how your journey got started in high school, kind of liking economics and business, and where it went from there.
Yeah. So I went to Miami Killian High School. I'm originally from Miami, Florida. I am the eldest of six siblings, and my journey started when I was in a segregated community, and I was moved into the integrated integration process at Miami Killian, and we were the first, I think, first class or the second class to integrate the high schools. And that for me was life changing, as you could imagine. But it really changed and shaped my life. I had learned how to live in my community because that's where I came from. But a skill that I developed and learned over the years and really helped shape me was how to live among diverse people with diverse backgrounds and diverse skills, and really how to really empower myself in those kind of environments. And I have to be honest with you, it didn't happen the first year. First year, I almost, flunked out. I'll just be honest with you. But once I got the hang of the process, I'm a natural geek. I love the reading and writing process. And I just had to get used to what was happening around me socially. And then I really did well. Once I took political science, and I didn't gravitate towards that, but I had a course in economics, and that really opened my eyes to the macro, the world, the globe, and also the micro, how businesses run. I was really interested in both of those areas. But to be quite honest, I didn't know a Black person could be an economist. I mean, that's a separate, I had never seen one. And I was lucky enough to get it to the University of Miami through a program called the Upward Bound Program. Actually, unfortunately, we learned this weekend that the director of that program for many years, Dr. Anna Price, she passed, but her husband was Dr. Hollis Price. And I believe he was the first Black professor that the University of Miami hired in the School of Business. and we came together. And I was so enamored that someone who looked like me could do the things that I love. I think I took every one of his courses, whether or not it was in my path, or whether or not I liked the course. I just wanted to learn from someone who I admired. And he, of course, did several recommendations for me, and that's how my academic journey evolved. I went to the Southern Illinois University, and originally I was in the urban studies program, but honestly, that was too general for me. I really enjoyed more the economics classes, and so I switched over to the economics degree program and obtained a degree in economics there. I was recruited by Howard University, and oh my goodness, Howard was a place where I really learned how to think. I mean, I used to ask my faculty there, um, why are you guys so hard on me? Hard on us. So, I've been to several different institutions, and in that time I had taken courses all over, not just at the institutions where I was getting my degrees. And I was saying, yo, you guys, you make us read so many books. Why? I know you could appreciate this, Devin, because you are a book lover and you read a lot of books as well. And what they said was, and this was profound for me, the books weren't written for us. You have to read the books to know what's in them, because one day you may have to rewrite the books. And so that gave me a different attitude about the learning process. It wasn't just about getting the grade. It just wasn't about knowledge for oneself. It was also about the empowering you to see things such that you may need to, and I tell this to my former students all the time, and my colleagues, you may need to change the world. It may be your little world, but you may need to change the world. So you first got to be aware of what's going on and what's in it. And so at once I was at Howard, was running my art gallery. As I mentioned to you, I love the arts. I love all forms of arts, but I particularly like the visual arts because somehow for me, arts touches the soul, or at least it touched my soul. I collected my first piece from an artist at the University of Miami when I was a freshman. His name is Carl Lattimore, and this year he's doing his 50-year retrospective. I have a couple of his pieces, but most of my collection came from our stable at the gallery, and we call that gallery Young Goma's Gallery. Um, and a little bit more before I get into the gallery, because I got to tell you how I started the gallery. I was at Howard and I fell in love with my former husband. And he was, and now I'm going to date myself. He was one of the economic advisors to President Nyerere in Tanzania, the Ujamaa president, one of the world's best leaders that has come out of Africa. And he was working at the World Bank. He was also at Howard, and we got married. What he did for my father, and I was still relatively young as he young wise go. He had promised my dad that if he allowed me to go to Tanzania, East Africa with him, that he would allow me to come back. That was my ex-husband would allow me to come back and finish my PhD degree. So, and he held to his word. When my daughter was born, her name is Grace Katabaruki. When she was born, I think she was just 6 months. We came back to finish my program. She stayed with my parents in Miami, and I went back up to Washington, D.C. At Howard. I finished my comps. My comps was not a problem. I finished my coursework and my comps in 18 months. I loved being in the classroom, so that
Now,
wasn't a
one just kind of question for you, just or maybe just to dive in, just to clarify, because I mean, you went to did undergraduate. I think you got a master's, you got a PhD. You met your now ex-husband, but at that time, the future husband, and you went off to Tanzania and did a number of things. But as you're going through and getting those degrees, was kind of the intent was, typically if you go all the way up to PhD you're usually a researcher or you're going to go into academics. So was that kind of the intent, or was there another direction you're intending to go?
I think there was another direction I was intending to go. And let me tell you why. Um, it just my experience, I had never had at Howard a woman economics faculty member. So there was no one modeling that for me. I think I was looking more at the UN and UN or some of the more international positions where I saw women economists. Um, uh, and my first job was at the World Bank. I was a research assistant, and my second job, and that goes to your point about researchers. My second job was at the Bank of Tanzania Housing Bank in Tanzania. I was a senior economist before I came back here. So I never dreamed I would be in the academy. Uh, and I'll just be honest. So many people have made so many sacrifices for me. I need to earn a return on my investment, and I didn't see that coming out of the academy. And so my first job after the PhD was at IBM. But life has a funny way of turning things all around. I mean, I made more money in the academy than I made in corporate because I was passionate about what I did. I believe I did it well, and I believed, I had some level of real excitement and enthusiasm and passion for the work. And so and I could see it, but I couldn't, it wasn't modeled for me. I didn't see women economists. When I was going through, there were only 10 PhD women economists who were Black in the country. 10, no, it was seven. It was only seven. So that I'm really dating myself. And so there wasn't that being modeled, but what was modeled was advocacy, was international work, and work in business. That I could see other women and eventually, we had more and more women join the academy as economists, more and more. So, and now, you see a lot of the writing, the publishing, the researchers, and many are in the academy. But that wasn't my story when I was coming along. So,
So now, so you did that. So you did a number of positions. So you do that now. Kind of walk us through, catch us up. Kind of where did the journey go from there? Or kind of where did things continue to evolve to?
okay, all right. So, I honestly, by the time, the PhD, the dissertation. Oh my God, that is where they really pressed me. I finished the undergraduate degree in 3 years. I finished my master's in 1 year, and I was just going through Howard. I said, okay, let me get this done, and I finished the coursework. Coursework has never been my problem. I understand how to take a test. I understand how to give you what you need or what you want. I mean, I was good at that. What I wasn't good at is reading people and understanding what they needed at that time. One of my senior faculty members, he was a labor economist, and that was one of my areas, human resources and labor. And he came to me and told me, he said, they're not going to let you get their degree when you are working full time. I was working for the federal government full time, and you are running a business. They're just not going to do it. And I didn't understand that. And this is the difference between men and women, Devin. Women know they have to multitask. Women know how to multitask. Those guys, when they went through, that's all they did. They did that one thing. And so they they weren't going to let me go. So what I did was I quit my good government job, and it was at a decent mid-grade level. I closed my business down after running it for 5 years, and in months, I was defending my dissertation. So the lesson learned there was it doesn't matter what I think. If I want something bad enough, I have to figure out how to go after it and just do it. And that was a lifelong lesson. It wasn't fair. It was not fair. But life It's not fair. There's a lot of things going on right now that's not fair, but life is not fair. So you learn how to live with it and just keep it moving. So IBM was recruiting on Howard's campus. A lot of large corporations, a lot of organizations recruit on Howard's campus. That's another benefit for being at Howard. It is the only research class, HBCU, historically black university, that existed while I was there. There might be another one now, but there are very few to reach that designation. So a lot of the large corporations come. They selected me. I don't think they selected anybody else that year. They selected me, and in my class, there were only a class of two graduates with the PhD. My program was very, very let's say challenging. Let me just say that. And I will leave that to my faculty, who most of them have retired or died. But they were good. They were good. They were good. They were good. They helped me. Uh, a lot of the help was not just in the academic work. A lot of the help was in the skills set, the confidence building, the awareness of self. And so that job was done well. So let me leave them alone. I went to IBM, and IBM taught me. Oh my goodness. I got a lot of training in the government. I was a large systems capacity planner, and that was the first job that IBM gave me, the large systems capacity planning. An economist does forecasting. It could be widgets, it could be food, it could be anything. So I was forecasting MIPS, millions of instructions per minute. I don't even know if they still use the term MIPS, but I was forecasting MIPS, and I was building models to forecast how many buildings that they need to build to house some of the power that they was bringing on. And at that time, I was working out of Poughkeepsie, which was one of the main areas. They were building buildings like. They were building buildings very fast, very fast. And so that I did to start, but the part of the IBM culture and the ethos is um, you have to know the marketing. The one of the philosophies was nobody gets paid until somebody sells something. And so the culture there was very marketing oriented. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to be a part of the culture. I wanted to understand it. And I wanted to grow in it. And I wanted to get some of those skill sets, because a lot of those skill sets that marketeers have are very transferable. And so IBM was very good at training its workforce. And so I became a marketing rep. And because I was an economist, I was a scientific and technical computing specialist, actually. My territory was banks, large banks, and in the end, the Federal Reserve Board of Governors I moved back down to the Washington, D.C. area, and they were my client. After that, I got into management. I was the manager of an executive briefing center, software development. And that's where I learned that software changes so rapidly that if you don't continue to learn, you can obsolete. And it's even worse now. I mean, then the software applications was lasting 18 months, and then 6 months, and then 3 months. I don't know how long the applications last now, but they truly shift and transform our lives. I mean, I am involved on a lot of different emerging technology platforms. I don't even want to say AI. I just call them emerging, and I love it. At my age, I love it because it shows us how much we could increase our own productivity, how we can help others, especially in the field of business. Well, it wouldn't have been thinkable to have some of these solo businesses or small businesses before, because the capital to run them was just too much. But the technology and the price point has come down so so fast that we have a lot more opportunity in the entrepreneurial space. After leaving, my last assignment at IBM was the IBM visiting professor at Hampton University. That is when I came back to the academy and truly understand the genesis of my my love. It's not for the academy in general. When I went to to Hampton University, I said, "You mean you read, you write, you talk, and you get paid for that. And it wasn't, they didn't have to go to work every day. It was like, this is work. Okay. All right. Right. Um, and at that time, the academy at Hampton, they worked 9 months a year. They didn't even work the 12 months. They worked 9 months a year. And depending on how many classes you had, you could teach 2 days a week or 3 days a week. It was something. And then the real perk of the job was to see learning on the student's face. Because I had had a practical experience, I could bring that to the classroom. And it wasn't just the theory. I didn't have to just talk about supply and demand. I could tell them how it impacted real businesses and see how that made a difference. And that was good for me. Although I'll be honest, I mean, I believe I was a better administrator than instructor. And and therefore I transitioned as the chair of the IT entrepreneurship and economics department, all three in one. And I was also the entrepreneurship center director. So you can imagine that was a lot. And it was my doctor who informed me that it was too much and I needed to make a shift and a change. And I did. I went to the University of Maryland. At that time, it was called University College. It is now called Global Campus. I was an assistant dean, therefore administration. And on through that thread, I kept as an administrator, as a dean of business, as a provost or a chief academic officer at several institutions. And then I wound back up as a dean. Now, let me tell you, I do not really enjoy the chief academic officer. Why? Because you're responsible for areas where you don't have that discipline knowledge. I mean, to be responsible for the nurses, to be responsible for the mathematicians. Ah, it was just so I finally landed in the back, almost where I started in the School of Business as the dean of the School of Business at Medgar Evers College, City University of New York. I was there for 10 years as the dean, and oh, did we have a good time. My students, I had a cohort of students that went to about 15 different countries. Why? Because I believe in business, you need to understand how other cultures work, especially since the world is so global and you want to sell or operate in other countries. And early on, I saw a lot of corporations make the mistake. They took what they was doing in this country and just plopped it down in China, places in Africa, you name it, and saw colossal failures. Culture is real. Culture is real, and although it's adaptable and it changes, you don't change it by just bringing the money. And I mean, there were some major corporations that thought they could buy into a country without buying into culture. Um, and whether or not you believe that or not, I wanted my students to understand that this is not the only place in the world that they could operate a business. And you may not know this. Well, where I worked, there were many underserved students, and some of them, a couple of them, had never been outside of New York. Some of them had never been outside of Brooklyn. So that's how they were. And some of them are still running businesses. Some of them now are in major corporations, and some of them even develop businesses with other countries. Like I had one student, he developed a business with his Kenyan colleagues. I mean, they went to Kenya, China, Japan, several other countries in the Caribbean. So I also think knowledge empowers. You don't know what you don't know. So if you've never been around someone from another country, if you've never done business with someone from another country, you just don't know what the opportunity is. And so they learned that, and I was very pleased that that was one of the things that we were able to start. We had some funding for the entrepreneurship and experiential learning um, a learning center. It was called EEL for short, and they did debates. They did pitch competitions. And one of my proudest moments is because we were a small school and not a well-funded or a well-endowed school compared to some of the other CUNY schools. But the very first woman to win a pitch competition at CUNY came from our mentorship in our school. Very first woman in their history of that. And that was because a lot of the students come with tenacity, persistence. They have life skills. They may be rough around the edges, but once they learn how to read a balance sheet, a P&L statement, once they understand how to compete, what the game is, they got those street skills too. And they combine the street skills with their academic skills, and they really did flourish. I really saw them flourish. So,
So now, just because we are starting to reach towards the end of the podcast, I want to make sure we catch up to present day. So you've gone through all of that evolution, or had a number of positions. Now, or kind of, if we were to maybe fast forward just a little bit, walk us through kind of where did that lead you to where you're at today, and kind of where are you at?
okay, Devin, thank you. I retired September the 23rd, 2024. That was last year. All along since Hampton, I had had my consulting firm. So I was doing consulting work. I did a lot of consulting work while I was in Hampton, and less because the job positions got more demanding, but still keeping my head in that consulting rank. I am now consulting full time. I have a client called Bears Devs. They are a startup. Basically, they've been around for 4 or 5 years, but they're one of the fastest growing startups in the world. They have system engineers, primarily from Latin America, at price points that are lower than China or India, but the quality and their ability to speak the language and develop and perform has been outstanding. They have major clients like Google and others who are longstanding clients and keep coming back. And I was attracted to them. I mean, I've had several opportunities for other clients, and I have not engaged in this one. And the reason being is time is short. I want to continue to make contributions, and I want those contributions to align. And so their focus on the market is with startups and major corporations to help them advance in technology. My sweet spot is in education, technology, and entrepreneurship. And with them, I was able to find all three. I will have other clients, and I'm specifically interested in the alpha generation because they are digital natives. That's all they know. And combining them with the knowledge of the baby boomers or some of those even younger so that we get better solutions than we have had um, previously. And when I say better solutions, with more impact, with more socioeconomic impact. And I'm not saying that everybody has to be a social entrepreneur. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying some of the outcome from all of the investments we've been making have to have need to have impact on a much broader group in the workforce. And so that's where I'm placing my energy now.
Excuse me. No, that's awesome. And sounds like it's a fun place to place your energy. Probably has a lot of a reward and a great opportunity for you. So now, as we've reached the present day of the journey, and it was a fun journey to hear, I always love to wrap up each or discussion of each journey with the same few questions. So we're going to jump to those now. So the first question I'd like to ask is, along your journey, what's the worst business decision you ever made? What'd you learn from it?
Okay, so when I was young and
NCAA has complied immediately.
okay, when I
Sorry
was
about that. I had something go off in the background, so apologize.
no, it's all right. When I was young, like I said, I didn't have a lot of role models, so I didn't trust my instincts a lot, and I made some decisions that could have been better. What I've learned is preparation. The more you prepare, the better you feel that you need. Over time, you can learn to trust your instincts, your expertise on data-driven insights And surround yourself with with good people. You know, some of the decisions I make now is not so much about the money, but the people I get to engage with. I mean, it's just wonderful to be with thought leaders, and I do have occasion to be with a lot of thought leaders, and I do consider myself as one in my space that I talked to you about. And some of that work is in itself is fulfilling. And I didn't talk about fulfillment. I talked about passion earlier, but fulfillment. People underrate fulfillment. I will tell you some of the most fulfilling moments I have had has been in the academy and also some of the lowest paid. I mean, it takes time to earn your salary up, but some of the lowest paid experiences. But wow, when you know you are helping to change someone's life, and for me, I was a senior level administrator, so it's not just changing the students' life. I helped change faculty lives and chairs and deans who still some of the deans that I work with have become college presidents now and college provosts, and so that helps to make your fulfillment. So the challenge is not to just look at the money, trust your instinct, look at the people, develop your network, and be kind to yourself. It takes time.
No, that's awesome. And that pretty well segues into the other question I typically ask, but we'll hit on nonetheless, which is, so now if you're talking to somebody that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one rule of thumb that you'd recommend?
Be adaptable. You know, there are a lot of folks that when they come out, they think they're going to run the company. If they ask you to do some menial task, do that task well. Do it the best that you can do. Understand that it takes time to get the skill to learn the business or the task. And so take your time, be adaptable, build your networks, like I said before, because often it's not what you know, but it's who you know, the people you know, and is what they say when you're not in the room. You know, anybody could say something really nice about you to your face, but when that door closes and they ask for a recommendation of who to give that next promotion to or who to give that next job to, you need to have someone in your corner. And I will tell people a lot of times you think who you put your on your reference list is who they're going to call. They may call them, but they do a lot of off reference shopping. And that can help make the difference even more than someone on your reference list. So make sure you're doing good work and be kind to yourself, be kind to people.
No, I think that is definitely a great piece of advice, great rule of thumb, and a great takeaway. Well, now as we do wrap up towards the end of the episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Okay, my website is joannerolle.com, or you can email me at jdrollandassociates@gmail.com. And those are the two best ways to reach me through the website or through my email.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to reach out, support a great business, expand their network, and if nothing else, make a new best friend. So, with that, thank you again, Joanne, for coming on the podcast. It's been it's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you listeners who are out there, if you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So, just go to inventiveunicorn.com, apply to be on the show. Couple more things as listeners. Make sure to click share, subscribe, leave us a review. Helps us to reach even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journeys to success. And along that note, if along your journey you ever need help with patents or trademarks or anything else with your startup or your small business, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Well, thank you again, Joanne, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thank you. Thank you so much.